Imagine being born without arms. The doctor said, he'll never live a normal life. He won't eat by himself. He won't write. He won't survive. His own biological family gave up hope, surrendering him as if his future was already written in darkness. But destiny had other plans, because that same child, Alvin Law, would grow up to prove every doubt, every whisper, every cruel prediction wrong. Alvin came into this world in 1960, a victim of the thalidomide tragedy that left thousands of children disabled, and the first words spoken about him were drenched in pity and hopelessness. Yet when he was adopted by Hilda and Jack Law, two ordinary people with extraordinary love, everything changed. They refused to see him as broken, refused to let him sink into the role of victim, and instead challenged him to live not half a life, but a full one. Imagine trying to hold a spoon without hands, trying to tie shoelaces with toes, trying to write, to eat, to brush teeth, to play everything impossible, until Alvin discovered that impossible was just a word, not a destiny. Slowly, painfully, and persistently, he learned to use his feet not just as tools, but as miracles of adaptation. Soon he was writing, eating, playing, and amazing those who once pitied him. But Alvin wasn't content with survival. He wanted to thrive. He learned to drive a car with his feet, play the drums, dance, cook, laugh, and embrace joy with such force that people could no longer see disability. They only saw possibility. At school, he endured cruelty, stares, and whispers, yet he fought back not with anger but with humor, turning bullies into friends and strangers into believers. And that gift of connection later became his calling. As he grew older, Alvin asked himself the same question many seniors ask: what is my purpose now? His answer came in the form of a voice, his voice on stages across the world, reminding people that it's not the cards you're dealt, it's how you play the hand. He became a living example of resilience, showing that even without arms, he could drive cars, play music, write books, raise a family, and inspire millions. His life shouts a truth that older generations need most. If he could turn pain into power, if he could laugh in the face of limitation, then age is no barrier to possibility. Alvin's journey was not easy. It was filled with rejection, dark nights, tears, and constant struggle. But through it all, he found a secret strength: the refusal to quit. And that is his message to every senior who feels finished. You are not done. You are not broken. You are not too old to live fully. Alvin Law's story is not about arms, it's about attitude. Not about disability, but about endless human possibility. And it proves that the human spirit, once ignited, has no expiration date. Imagine being born into a world that instantly tells you you will never be enough. That was the beginning of Alvin Law's story. In 1960, when the drug thalidomide caused thousands of babies to be born with deformities, Alvin entered life without arms. For most people, that would have been the end of possibility. No career, no independence, no productivity, no purpose. And yet, as you hear this story, understand that Alvin's life is not just about surviving without arms. It's about thriving in a way that can inspire anyone, especially those in the later chapters of their lives, to realize that productivity, legacy, and contribution do not expire with age. His journey is living proof that no matter how late in the game you feel, the scoreboard can still be rewritten. When Alvin's biological family gave him up, it was an act of surrender. They believed his future was already over. But here lies the first lesson for older people: never surrender your future based on someone else's opinion. Many seniors today are told, you're too old to start a business, you're too old to change careers, you're too old to reinvent yourself. But Alvin's adoptive parents, Hilda and Jack Law, refused to accept that narrative. They challenged him. They said, you will not be treated as disabled, you will be treated as capable. And so Alvin, as a child with no arms, began to learn productivity in its rawest form, doing more with less. He taught himself to eat with his feet, to brush his teeth, to write, to dress, to drive. He wasn't just learning survival skills, he was learning the foundation of productivity, efficiency, creativity, and persistence. And here's the motivational tie for older people. In your later years, you may feel slower, less sharp, less energetic. But productivity is not about having the perfect tools, it's about making the best use of the tools you still have. Alvin's tools were his feet, his mind, and his attitude. What are yours? Maybe you don't have the same speed as before, but you have wisdom, discipline, and clarity that younger people lack. Productivity in old age is not about hustling like you're 20. It's about working smarter, not harder. Alvin learned this young, but the lesson is timeless. As Alvin grew older, he realized that society measures value by output, what you create, what you contribute, what results you bring. Many seniors worry, am I still useful? Can I still produce results? Alvin had the same doubts. Without arms, what could he possibly offer the world? Yet, instead of shrinking into despair, he found his edge: communication. He had a natural sense of humor, a warmth in his personality, and a story that touched people. Soon, he discovered the business side of productivity, turning his life experience into a message that could inspire, educate, and transform others. He became a speaker. And here is where the story connects powerfully to seniors, because many older people underestimate the value of their story. You may think, I didn't build a big business, I didn't become famous, but your life is your legacy, and sharing it can inspire, mentor, and even create opportunities for others. Alvin turned his story into a business, into a career, into productivity at its highest level, impacting people's lives. In business, one of the most powerful assets is resilience. Alvin's career was not a smooth rise. He faced rejection, skepticism, and constant doubt. Some event organizers said, nobody wants to hear a disabled man talk. Others pitied him, but refused to pay him. He had to market himself, to sell his message, to prove his value over and over again. And that is the exact experience many older entrepreneurs face, trying to re-enter the business world in their 50s, 60s, or 70s, only to be dismissed as irrelevant. But Alvin shows us that persistence pays. He kept showing up, kept refining his message, kept adding humor, honesty, and depth until people could no longer ignore him. Eventually, he became one of Canada's most respected motivational speakers, traveling across continents, speaking to companies, governments, schools, and conferences. His business wasn't about selling products, it was about selling belief. And isn't that the highest form of productivity? To take the raw material of your pain and turn it into value for others? For older people listening, here's the motivation. It is never too late to monetize your story, your skills, your wisdom. You don't need arms to be productive. You don't need youth to be valuable. You need creativity and courage. Think about the businesses started by older people. Ray Kroc founded McDonald's at 52. Colonel Sanders launched KFC at 65. And Alvin Law started his speaking career in a world that never believed in him. Your productivity is not about age. It's about output. What can you create, teach, share, or build today that you couldn't have done in your 20s because you lacked wisdom? That is your edge. Another powerful lesson from Alvin's journey is adaptation. Technology changed, audiences changed, the world changed, and Alvin adapted. He learned how to use computers with his feet. He learned how to travel efficiently despite challenges. He learned how to make his message relevant in every era. For seniors, this is a vital point. Productivity in old age is about staying adaptable. Many older people fear technology, fear change, fear irrelevance. But Alvin shows that the ability to learn at any age is the true engine of productivity. If a man without arms can master tools designed for hands, surely an older person can learn modern tools designed for everyone. Productivity is not about comfort, it is about growth. There were also moments when Alvin questioned his worth. He admitted he had nights where he thought, why me? Why this body? Why this struggle? Seniors too have these nights when joints ache, when memory slips, when energy fades, and the question arises, what's left for me? But Alvin always found an answer in service. He discovered that when he shifted the focus away from himself and onto helping others, his pain became fuel, his disability became a platform, and his struggles became bridges for others to cross. This is the secret for older people too. Purpose fuels productivity. If you want to feel alive at 70, stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? Alvin gave laughter, courage, and perspective. And in return, he built a career, a business, and a legacy. Let's also talk about Alvin's philosophy on time, because time is every senior's most precious resource. Alvin often said, I don't count the days I don't have. I count the ones I do. This mindset is the ultimate productivity hack for old age. Younger people waste time as if it's infinite, but older people know the truth. Time is short, yet that reality can be turned into fuel. Alvin used his time with urgency, not to rush, but to live fully. He traveled, played drums, performed music, built relationships relationships, and worked tirelessly to spread his message. He didn't sit back and wait for life to hand him comfort. He built it actively. For seniors, this is the lesson. Stop counting the years behind you. Start building the days ahead of you. Productivity is not about hours worked. It's about impact created. Even a single day of meaningful contribution at 70 is more productive than a decade of wasted time at 30. Now let's imagine Alvin addressing a room full of older people. He would look at them and say, "You think you're too old to start? I was told I was too disabled to start. I was told I couldn't work, couldn't play, couldn't live. And yet here I am. What excuse do you have?" His challenge is sharp but full of love. It is a reminder that every excuse we hold on to is a thief of our future. Seniors often say, "It's too late." Alvin's life responds, "Too late for what? To breathe, to smile, to build, to give." As long as you're alive, productivity is possible. In his career, Alvin also became an entrepreneur. He didn't just speak, he built programs, wrote books, created workshops, and partnered with organizations. He treated his message like a business, with discipline and professionalism. He managed his time, his finances, his brand. Seniors often think business is only for the young, but Alvin proves that business is simply problem solving for profit. You don't need arms, you don't need youth. You need the will to solve problems and add value. Many seniors underestimate the value of their networks, their experience, their ability to consult, mentor, or teach. Alvin's productivity in business came from turning limitations into leverage. Seniors can do the same. And let us not forget Alvin's joy. Productivity without joy is slavery. Alvin infused laughter into his talks, music into his presentations, humor into his pain. This is another lesson for seniors. Productivity must be joyful. If you hate what you're doing at 70, why do it? Instead, align productivity with passion. If you love gardening, turn it into a business or a community project. If you love teaching, share your knowledge. If you love writing, put your story on paper. Alvin loved people, loved connecting, loved making audiences laugh, so he built his productivity around that. Seniors must do the same. Build productivity around joy, not just money. In the end, Alvin Law's life is not about arms, it's about attitude. It's not about disability, it's about productivity. It's not about survival, it's about contribution. And for every older person who feels their best days are gone, Alvin's story screams the opposite. Your best days can still be ahead if you choose to live with courage, creativity, and commitment. He shows that productivity is not limited by body, by age, or by circumstance. It is fueled by choice. So here is the final challenge Alvin's life offers to seniors. Look at your hands, whether they are wrinkled, shaky, or strong. Now imagine living without them. Imagine a man who never had them, and then realize if Alvin Law could build a career, a business, and a life of joy without arms, what's stopping you from building something meaningful with the tools you still have? His story proves a timeless truth. You are not finished until your last breath. And until then, every day is a chance to be productive, to build, to give, and to live.